yarn lovers! Today I'm going to show you how to crochet this beautiful heart granny square blankets. We will start by making the granny squares and I'll show you how to crochet them without any extra tails to sew in at the end, and then move on to joining and finally adding a pretty picot border. So to make this beautiful blanket you're going to need some Aran or worsted weight yarn in 4 different colours. I'm using this King Cole Forest Aran. And you're going to also need a 5mm hook, some scissors and a darning needle. So to make this blanket I used a total of 144 squares, and using each of the 4 colours this gives you a total of 12 different colour combinations, and you'll need 12 of each colour combination. So this tutorial is made to complement the written pattern which is available in my Etsy store. It includes all of the materials you'll need. It includes charts for the granny square. It also includes a diagram to show you how to lay out all of your squares. So if you do want to get that, I will link that in the description below. Let's start with our first granny square. So I'm going to start by putting a slip knot on my hook and chaining 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to join with a slip stitch to this first chain to form a ring. I'm then going to chain 3. This counts as our first double crochet. Now I'm going to be working over this tail as we go, so then I don't need to sew it in at the end, so I'm just going to hold that in place and then work into the ring over the tail as well. So we need 2 more double crochet into the ring, chain 2. This makes our first corner space. We're now going to put another 3 double crochet into the ring, chain 2 for our next corner, 3 more double crochet into that ring, and I'm working over that tail the whole time. Chain 2 for the next corner, and then our final 3 double crochet into the ring. Chain 2 for that last corner space, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch to the top of our chain 3, our beginning chain, like so. And now because I've worked over that tail, I can just gently pull that and it closes up just as if it was a magic ring. But because you've worked over that, you can just snip that off now. You don't need to sew that end in. So we now need to get to this next corner to start our next round, start round 2. So we're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2, and also into the next corner space, and we're ready to start round 2. So we'll chain 3. This counts as our first double crochet. Now we're going to start our corner. All the corners are going to be exactly like this, so it's 3 double crochet into the corner. That chain 3 counts as our first. So here we have 2 and 3, chain 2 for the corner, and then 3 more double crochet all into that same space. So I'm going to go ahead and do the next corner, 3 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 more double crochet all into that same corner space. So you go ahead and work your last 2 corners in exactly the same way. I'll meet back when we're ready to finish up the round. So we're simply going to finish this round by joining with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3. And now we're ready to start round 3. So again we're going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches to work our way over to that corner space, and then slip stitch in that corner space. And we're going to work our first corner as normal, so we'll chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet. So we want 2 more double crochet into that corner space, chain 2 for our corner, and then 3 more double crochet all into that same space. We now have spaces to work into across the sides, and this is how you will do all of the squares from now on. In every corner it's going to be 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and each time you get to a space across the sides you're going to put 3 double crochet in there. So that's 1, 2, and after the last one is 3, but we need to change colour now, so I'm only going to work the first part of that stitch, and then we're going to drop the old colour, pick up the new colour, just lay it over the hook and pull through those last 2 loops to finish off that stitch. Now we're going to carry the yarn with us as we go, so we don't have too many tails to weave in at the end. So you're going to carry off this, so you're going to carry the tail from your new yarn across to this corner, and you're also going to carry the other colour across to the corner. So just hold them behind in that corner space, and then we're ready to work our next corner. So you're going to yarn over. I like to yarn over with the other tail as well, then go into your corner, pull up that loop, yarn over, pull over 2, yarn over, pull over 2, just to make a normal double crochet. Then just gently pull that tail and it will just hide inside that stitch so you can't see it. So then we're going to carry on with our corner as normal. So that's 2 more double crochet into that corner, chain 2, and 2 more double crochet. Now on this third double crochet we're going to change back to our darker colour because we're ready to add the bottom part of the heart now. So on this last double crochet we will just work the first part of that stitch, then we'll let go of the pink, pick up the darker colour, and then finish off that stitch. So we're just going to carry the tails across to this space across the side. This is where we're going to work next. So we're going to put 3 double crochet into this space, but we do need to change back to the pink on our last stitch. So we just work the first part of that stitch, we drop this colour, pick up the pink again, and finish off that stitch. And then we carry our tails across to this corner, and then we work our corner as normal. So it's 3 double crochet, working over these tails as you go. Now don't worry about the long floats you're going to get on the back of your squares, because we are going to deal with those. We're not going to have those horrible long floats on the back that you can get your fingers caught in and you can easily pull your stitches out that way. We will work over those on the following row. So we need to change back to our darker colour on this last stitch. So we'll just let go of that pink, pick up the burgundy and finish off that stitch. And then we need to carry our working yarn, the pink, with us across. So now we're going to put 3 double crochet into this space across the side. That's 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you're working over the top of that carriage yarn, and then carry the yarn to the corner, and we're going to work a corner as normal. 3 double crochet, chain 2, and 3 more double crochet. And on this last stitch we are going to be changing back to the pink. So we just work the first part of that stitch, drop the darker colour, pick up pink, finish off that stitch, then we'll carry this across. We'll put 3 double crochet into this next space, working over the carriage yarn. And on this last stitch we're going to change back to that darker colour. And then we're ready to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3, but I want to carry this pink with me, so I'm just going to insert my hook into the top of that chain with this carriage yarn over the hook as well, and then slip stitch. We then need to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches to get to the corner, and as I slip stitch into this second stitch we're going to swap back to the pink like so, and then slip stitch into that corner space, working over that darker coloured yarn. Chain 3, the start of the next round, 2 more double crochet into that ring, sorry, into the corner, chain 2 for our next corner space, and then we're going to put 3 more double crochet into that corner. It's 1, 2 and 3. Now we are finished with this dark yarn now, but if you were to just leave that behind now, you would need to sew that end in. So what I'm going to do is carry it across this next corner, and then again I will catch those floats up on the following round. So I'll carry it across the next corner, and then I can just snip that off. So we're going to put 3 double crochet into each space across the sides. So in this next side space, 3 double crochet. It's 1, 2, 3. And again, 3 double crochet in the space across the side, the next space. If you look underneath, you can see this is the float here. This loop here is a float from the previous row. So we're just going to work over that. So we put 3 double crochet working over the float and our carriage yarn. And then we'll carry this yarn over to this corner space and work our corner as normal, working over that darker coloured yarn. So we're going to put 3 double crochet, chain 2 and 3 more double crochet. So we're now completely finished with that darker colour yarn, so you can snip that off. You don't need to weave that end in, it's been carried far enough. You can snip off all of the other ends that we've got. We've worked over all of these and this one in the start, so the only tail you'll have to weave in at the end is the very last one. So now I'm just going to continue around, putting 3 double crochet into each space across the sides and 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet into each corner. But just make sure that as you're working in the spaces across the sides, you're always looking for those floats. All you need to do is just put your hook under there and then work the stitches as normal, just crocheting over the top of those. So just look for the floats, crochet over the top. So you go ahead and finish off this round of your granny square, and I'll meet you back when we're ready to start the final round. So I'm just at the end of the round here, and we're going to join as usual to the top of that chain 3. And we're ready to start round 5. So again, we're just going to slip stitch into the next 2 stitches and into that corner space, and we're going to start our corner as usual with a chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet, 2 more double crochet into that same space, chain 2 and then 3 double crochet. Now if you look on the back of your square, we have got some floats here from the previous round. We've got 1, 2, 3. We are going to work over those as we work across this first side. So in each space across the sides, you'll be putting 3 double crochet. Make sure pick up those floats. They're only on this first edge across this square. So 3 double crochet into each space across the sides, and then in each corner 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. So you go ahead and finish up your final round of your granny squares, and I'll meet you back when we're ready to start joining. So once you've worked all the way around, we're just going to join with a slip stitch to the top of that chain 3 and fasten off. I like to fasten off securely by pulling the yarn through, then going through that bump on the back of that stitch and then pulling through again, and then you can just pull that knot down. It makes a really secure knot and this really will not come undone. So I like to block my individual squares before joining. I just put them onto a blocking board with a wooden blocking board with the pins, and you want to have your square so that it's very slightly stretched. You don't want to stretch it too much, but just so that it's very slightly stretching. And then I leave it for 24 hours, and that blocks them enough for joining, and then I steam block the finished blanket. So this King Cole Forest Aran yarn, it's got quite a bit of texture to it. It's not as textured as a boucle would be, but it does have some texture to it. And I found that trying to sew the squares together with this yarn, it was just catching a little bit. You could do it, but I found it was much easier to just use a regular, smoother yarn. So I'm using this yarn instead of the yarn I use to crochet with to join my squares. But because I'm using an invisible join, it really doesn't matter what yarn you use, because you're not going to see the stitches anyway. So I've got 4 squares here ready to join. So you just want to go ahead and thread your yarn onto a large darning needle. And then I'm going to use the mattress stitch to join them together. I really love this method as it gives a really seamless finish. You can, of course, use any method you prefer. If you have a different way of joining that you like to use, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to start by putting my needle just into this first corner stitch and then out through the second corner stitch. Pull it through, just leave a bit of a tail so that you can weave in at the end. And then I'm going to do the same with this next corner. Just go in first corner stitch and out the second one. And then you're looking to go in where you last came out and then into the next stitch. And then exactly the same on the opposite side. So you go in where you last came out and then out in the next stitch. Seem to have got one of my hairs stuck in there. Does anyone else have that problem? Do you always get your hair stuck in your crochet or your knitting? Let me know in the comments. Right, so I'm going to continue doing this for a few stitches until I've worked maybe an inch or so. And then you can just pull both ends and it will just draw itself together like so. And as you can see, you can't see the yarn at all now. So you're just going to continue doing this all the way across. And every few stitches just draw it together. So you keep going until you get all the way to the end, and I'll meet you back when it's time to join in the next squares. So I've worked all the way across one side of our squares, joined those two together. So we're ready to move on to the next squares, and we're just going to start in exactly the same way by going in and out those 2 corner stitches on the first square and exactly the same on the second square. And then you can continue on just as before. All the way across these next squares. And again, every now and then you want to draw it closed. Okay, so you go ahead and work all the way across this square, and then we're going to turn around and start working across this square. So what you will be doing is you will have lots of squares all the way along. You'll go all the way across in one direction, then you'll move on to the next row, add your squares underneath, go all the way across in that direction until you've got all of your rows, and then we're going to turn around and we're going to start working this way, and you're going to work this way across just like we did working across here. But when you get to the corner, we're going to do a little trick. I'm going to show you a little trick to get your corners really nice and sharp. So you go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you back when we're ready to join those corners. So I've worked all the way across and I'm now at the space where the place where the corners are all joined. So I'm going to start off in this corner here. We're going to just go in and then out of those 2 corner stitches like so, and then I'm going to do the same on this square. So in and then out of those corner stitches, and we're going to do this anti-clockwise through all of the corners. So we then go onto this pink square here, through the corners, and then finally this one, in and then out. And then I like to go through this one once more because then your yarn ends up in the right place to carry on joining. So I just go through this one again. And then when you gently pull, it just pulls those corners together. It's like magic. And then you can carry on with joining your squares across this way. Well, you go ahead and finish joining your squares and I'll meet you back when we're ready to add our border. So my squares are all joined, I'm ready to add the border. So you're going to use the same hook you used for the squares. And I'm just going to put a slip knot on my hook with the yarn. And then in any corner space, you're just going to go in with a single crochet. And we're going to put 2 more single crochet into that corner, for a total of 3 single crochet. You're going to have 3 single crochet in every corner. And then I'm going to start working across the sides with a single crochet in each stitch. So this first double crochet here, I'm going to put a single crochet. And then I'm just going to continue all the way across the side with a single crochet in each stitch. Now, as you're working across, each time you get to the places where your squares are joined, you're going to put 2 single crochet into this first corner. That's 1, 2, and then you're going to put 1 single crochet into the next corner, and then start working a single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So you're going to keep working across with a single crochet in each stitch, and then every time you get to those corner spaces, you'll put 2 single crochet in the first corner and then 1 single crochet in the next corner, and then carry on. And every time you get to the corner of your blankets, you're going to put 3 single crochet in there. So just coming up to this next corner, and we simply put 3 single crochet all into that corner. And then we'll start with a single crochet in each stitch across again. And again, every time you get to this joining where the squares are joined, you're going to put 2 single crochet into the first corner space, 1 single crochet into the second corner space. So you work all the way around your blanket, and I'll meet you back when we're ready to add our picot round. So I've worked all the way around, and we're just going to join with a slip stitch to this first single crochet. And we're ready to start our final round. So we'll chain 1. This doesn't count as a stitch. We're going to put a single crochet into that same stitch. So far we've worked a total of 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. So every 4 stitches you're going to work your picot stitch. So to work the picot, chain 3. And then I like to join to the single crochet by going through this front loop here and this front leg, and then joining with a slip stitch. Then going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we'll picot. So it's 1, 2, 3 chains, and then slip stitch into that single crochet. And then again 4 single crochet. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3 for our picot, and then slip stitch into that single crochet. Like so. So you're simply going to work this all the way around. You don't have to do anything fancy for the corners, you just work all around. Single crochet 4, picot, and repeat. So I've worked all the way around with the picot edging. I'm just coming up to the last few stitches here. So I've just worked a picot. So I would crochet 4 stitches. That's 1, 2, 3. And now we don't have a 4th stitch, but we have got our 3 stitches here. So we'll just put a picot here. There's 1, 2, 3. Join with a slip stitch. So don't worry if you do have not quite the right number of stitches left, as long as your picots are kind of evenly spaced out. And then you can fasten off and weave in your ends. So once you're done with your border, your finished blanket will look something like this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you would like to see more blanket tutorials, then be sure to check out this playlist. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye now.